children get to an age in terms of their teenage years and so on. And then I'm going to tack on this. How much more important is it, especially in those early secondary school years where we believe the children are weaning away from the parents and they're trying to face their identity? Why is it important that we pay close attention at that point in time to what messaging and what things they're seeing on their devices? I'm going to ask Billboard to tackle that one. Well,
firstly, there's so many influences out there, and the reality is, at almost 50 years old, I am not in touch with every single thing that my 14-year-old is in touch with, or my 22-year-old is in touch with. Different language, they watch different things, they're attracted to different things, and it is our job as parents to monitor, right, and pay attention. I find that parents aren't paying attention. That is the real crux of the matter, you know. Parents aren't paying attention. They don't know what the games are. Like, let's say outside of games, I remember when my daughter, she's in her 20s now, when she was 15, I had never heard about Nicki Minaj before. So I said, oh, Nicki Minaj, play something. She played a song, I was like, okay. She played another song, it was okay. Little did they know that those were the YouTube friendly songs. When they hear the actual version, I was like, what is this? And I can tell you that listening to certain music had a serious impact on my daughter then. That still pervades to now, although she's an adult. But I was not au fait with what was happening.
Oh, you're talking about a 22-year-old, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. 23, 24.
24.
Yes.
Right.
Right. So I've been more responsible subsequently to that, and looking at what they listen to. I try to monitor what they listen to in terms of games and what's not. Where Eden as a 10-year-old, where his game is set up. His game is set up. So he cannot be back in the wall and have a game and I cannot see the screen. Anything that he's playing anywhere, I must be able to pass at any given point in time see it. And people can see what is happening. Right? And there's a time they set time, the time limits. Also in terms of headphones. Don't be playing the game with headphones. I want to hear what is that going on, right? And the friends. So even the games that he plays where there may be multiple people, where there are multiple players in the game, you're not allowed to be playing with people that you don't know, right? I want to know the ones that you're playing. So there are a lot of you get room to do things, but you still have to be strict at times, and parents have to monitor.
And what I would say is some of the things that we do in our home, some people may say these things are archaic, but no. Children need boundaries. And when I think of my children, I'm thinking of adults of tomorrow. Because we have 2 adult kids, we can look back and see how quickly time flies by. And we didn't do everything right with our first 2, but because we understand that this is a huge responsibility, we have to pour to the lives of our children, because whatever goes into their heads now and become a part of the fabric of their brain, it is the thing that they're going to do. It is the thing that they will live. It is what they will function from. It is the kind of individual that they will be in society. And if from early childhood into teenagehood, and they are so desensitized, and some things that are immoral that in my day I would never have done, even as an adult. There are things I do not watch. I remember a few years ago, we called in some class 4s for some things that they had on their tablets. And the class 4 said, ma'am, but I thought that this content is for adults. We thought we were wrong because this content, children shouldn't watch. And I saw the horror on their faces when I said, there's some content that is terrible for humans. It is not. You understand that?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, this whole talk about social media, it is something that I live. Right? I'm not always scrolling on my phone. I do not play every music. I do not watch everything. There are some things that I just do not want to do because I'm trying to preserve the person that I am, and I'm trying to build character, and I do not want my morals and values to be eroded, because they can be eroded. And if they can be eroded for me,
an adult,
how much more so for children that are now coming to grips, their personality, all of that is being formed. So it is our responsibility as parents to help mold and shape. They were only alive for 14 years. They were only alive for 15 years. They were barely alive. So because they were barely alive, they need the wisdom and guidance of parents to help. Okay?
And also, if you take a hard stance, right? The children really conform to whatever stance you take, you know.
Yes.
Right? So you explain the benefits. They may not get it, they may not want to conform, but you have to conform. And then when you realize, okay, so you realize that 3 days have passed, you have not played your game, and you're not dead, you have not died. And then 3 days turns into a week, and then a week turns into 2 months, and then it's like, I got a game, oh shoot, I got a game. Simply because the parent took a stance.
Yes, you're socializing
right?
them.
You're socializing
there
them.
Are other things to do besides playing a game.
Go sit and ride a bicycle.
I think that is one of the things that, in terms of parenting today, that we need to be very careful of, which is understanding the role of discipline. And what discipline is, and discipline not from the standpoint of punishing.
That's not what it means at all.
Discipline from the standpoint of what are the
training
practices or the things that I could train in doing to create habits that add value to my life. What are the goals that I'm trying to achieve? What's the progression I'm trying to make in terms of my development? Now, we discussed a lot of things, and I love what you guys have been talking about in terms of the shaping of identity and personality and all that type of stuff, and how that is influenced now because of social media or gaming and those type of things. I love the point that you make about monitoring. Now, I do have, I don't know if we're gonna delve into this more, but we do have as an organization something called a family media plan, which is an agreement between parents and teens or children in terms of what is acceptable use of digital devices and screen time in the home. And that is something that parents will sign up to and children will sign up to. There are predetermined sets of rewards or penalties for violating it, and it is something that we want for every family. We think that this is something that every home should have if you're having children that go on devices. But before I go there, going back to the mental health situation, some doctors argue that if your child is suffering from serious signs of depression, or and we are talking about teenagers, we're suffering from depression, suffering from poor performances in terms of the school tied to their digital usage, if they're suffering from withdrawal and that type of stuff from you or the home because of the addiction to a device, or if they're suffering from using the device as mood changers, you see an aggression or these type of things tied to access to their devices. Some psychologists, some doctors are saying that parents should, one, take away that device from the child, or in some cases, if you know the child is already showing those type of signs in different areas, probably not to give a child a device because it would amplify it when the child goes on social media and so on. What do you guys think about that stance?
I agree wholly and solely. Right? No, at a certain...
Which one?
I agree with taking away
the device. Okay.
Taking away the device altogether. Right? There are some things that to curb you have to remove altogether. You have to put a stiff penalty, which is taking away a certain liberty altogether. Now, it would differ from child to child. It may differ from home to home, but generally, and I guess we're speaking about at the extreme level. At the extreme level with the behavior, extreme level requires an extreme response, and an extreme response may be to take it away. Period. What happens? Many parents take away the devices for an afternoon.
Of course.
For a few hours.
Yes.
Me, when it gone.
It
Come back and ask me this summer vacation. We're week 2 of school or 3. Come and ask me in the summer vacation. And at the summer vacation, and they say, no, you may go check me back at Christmas.
No, I'm gonna tell you a story. I know we only have about 8 minutes left, but I'm gonna tell you a story. This is a true story, and I want your thoughts on this. A true story that happened back in 2017, where a teenage boy in Trinidad, I believe, he was one of the top students, and his parents gave him a device in terms of celebrating all the stuff that he's been doing. Eventually, he got so attached to the device that his performance in school began to drop to the point where it dropped to the point where he started failing. When his mother saw the report that he failed his classes, basically, and she recognized it was tied to his device, she took the device away and said, until you get your grades back up, you're not going to have access to this phone. That young man went to sleep that night, got up the next morning, and physically assaulted his mother with a weapon. And basically, I think her arm was severely severed or something like that. He assaulted her with a weapon and basically sat in a nearby graveyard site till the police came. And when the police arrived, they said that he was just simply saying, I think it was unfair for her to take away my device. Now, seeing situations like that may cause some parents to say, well, I can't afford to do that. I don't want my child in whatever form or fashion to go into that level, especially if they're seeing type of aggression there. What do you say to those parents?
What I would say to those parents is the same thing that I would have said to that particular parent. At the point in time where you acted, the decline was so far gone that you either did not recognize, did not see. A child as a top student don't just fail.
It's true.
A child as a top student can't just fail. There was a progressive decline over everything that the parent either didn't see or did nothing about. So really, right? In that situation, I put more blame on the parent than on the child. The child is a child. He wants to play his game. He's a child. You as a parent, no, your child is a top student because he used to be studying. Do you see him still studying? He used to do these particular things. Do you see him doing those particular things? There has to be a serious decline that the parent did nothing about. So all that you're going to hear coming from me all the time, yes, children are going to have somewhat of a responsibility, right? But that is more in the latter teenage years and stuff. At 10, 11, 12, 13, it is what
even.
I say, 14, 15.
Yes.
16. It is what it is what I say, right? And it has to be that way.
Conversation.
Right?
Yeah,
No, you're gonna have
conversation,
you're gonna have
definitely.
conversation, and you're gonna warn, you're gonna try to educate. But at the end of the day, the final decision has to rest with some person. Another thing that I would like to add quickly, and I guess we would have to look at this another time. Because we are in our late 40s, heading towards 50. However, parents that their children are the same age as yours and mine are 35.
So they have
You are almost 15 years older than some parents that have children the exact age as Ariel. They have a completely different mindset towards a whole set of things. So really and truly, the parents kind of belong in the same age of what the other children are dealing with now. The ones that are the parents experience that a couple of years ago. So they're really in the same thing.
So what you're saying as we get ready to wrap up, that we, even if we look at parenting, we have to look at the different dynamics in terms of the parents and how some of these parents themselves may be also shaped by the same culture in terms of social media and the gaming and the culture that comes through this. So the challenge would be for organizations like EKCO Nation and BARBADOS and so on, how do we reach those parents with the seriousness of the responsibility of parenting, especially in a digital world, and setting a standard that their children could follow, because that's one of the things that we want to look at. We don't want to say to our children, well, you can't do this and you can't do this, and then what they see is that you're supposed to be at work and you're constantly on your device. You're supposed to be doing certain things and you're constantly on your device. So that gives a serious challenge to our parents, but they need to recognize the serious role that this is. I'm going to let Janelle quickly. I know you had something that you wanted to say.
I just wanted to champion everything that Billboard was saying, because at the end of the day, it's about parenting. It's your responsibility, not only in the eyes of God, but in the eyes of government. And I have a colleague who's been saying for years, it's time that we start putting the responsibility rightfully on parents and stop pointing fingers at our children. Children are not supposed to raise themselves.
Totally do that.
Children are not supposed to raise themselves, and sadly in this country they are doing that. And the last point that he said, we are in a digital age where the parents are part of that said digital age. So we have a much bigger problem than we think. Because even when you're saying that, in my second, I'm talking to parents about filtering their kids and the psychological effects that have on their self-concept and self-esteem. But then I look at the parents' pictures and they're all filtered. So my words are falling on deaf ear.
Listen, I want to say thank you. We really appreciate it.
Next week again?
Unfortunately, no. But we may have you. We're looking to. We're going to have our parenting webinar coming up very soon, and we are definitely going to have you on that, because I think you have a lot to share, a lot of wealth of knowledge to share concerning being both principals, teachers, and parents of generational children.
That's a nice part there. Different really generations.
Good. All right, so we want to thank you for tuning in here on Life 97.5 FM for EKCO Wise Parenting. We're going to be here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Up next, we have the Starcom Network News. Stay locked on to Life. See you next week.